Hi everybody, welcome back. Today I want to talk about where an edtech startup from early ideation should begin.
Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lena Saleh, the EdTech Guru, where we explore all things EdTech and education related. All right, let's do this.
Through the past 10 years, I have worked with many different stages of startups, from early ideation to ones that have products and have been in the market for quite some time. So where should you begin? Where should you start? You have this really great idea. What next? Well, you need to start making sure that your idea is an actual need, either within the industry community or within the teacher community. So you can do that by following trends in the media. So looking at things like tracking resources or news media or social media. So I would recommend looking at hashtag and making sure that you're following that hashtag on Twitter and seeing what the conversations are being had surrounding that. Teachers are very open and honest on Twitter. So that's going to be a place where you're going to want to be tracking those conversations. Then go to something like Education Dive and see if there are any trends which would relate to where your product is going to fill that void. You can also set up Google alerts and just start truly tracking. The next thing that you need to do is you need to sit down and come out with a mission and vision statement, basically your true north. If you don't know where your true north is, it's going to be easy for people to push you off the true north pathway. Lots of people will ask you to change your idea, modify it, but you always want to be keeping that true north in the back of your mind and set forth as your vision, because everyone will always have different ideas, but you need to make sure that if you know that this is identified need and you know this is something that you've identified as a problem that you can solve, you need to make sure that you have that in mind. So with your mission and vision statement, the next thing that you're going to come up with is a plan. So you need to sit down and map out your plan. Where would you like to be at the end of 1 year and at the end of 5 years? Now, why do I say 1 and 5? Well, 1 is the very hardest year getting started. Year 2 and 3, you'll start getting in somewhat of a groove. And by 5, you'll be pretty ready to start looking at the what's next. So beyond the curtain. It's important to know what your year 1 and year 5 are, because they're always going to grow and modify and change. We know, like with any given good plan, even when you put maps in to Google Maps, your pathway can change quite quickly along the way. But if you still know what your true north is and you have this vision of where your plan is going to be, it's going to be important for that. So laying out those plans in year 1 and year 5. Then you need to look at your budget. How long can you realistically run right now without any investor money? Where can you go with this budget that you have on? Have you settled from your job? Are you still going to continue working the job that you're currently working, or are you just going to figure it out as you go? It's definitely a good suggestion to have some money backed up in a corner so that you have some runway to work with, because you're going to be needing to work with multiple people to bring into your team. No one person can do everything really well, so you'll then have to start building your team. So once you have your plans down, your budget, and you know exactly your runway, you need to start bringing people in. You can connect with people. That's where it's really great to connect with your meetup groups, or maybe go and talk with people who are running the accelerator. See if you can go into some mentorship type of opportunities. Like here in Austin, there's Capital Factory. They have really great mentoring hours in which you can meet with a mentor and kind of just talk through your idea. I meet with a lot of people who have had ideas for, well, as long as I've lived here in Austin, about 5 years, and never made it to that next step. So it's important to be able to make sure that if your long-term goal of what you want to do, then you need to make it happen. Nobody will ever do anything for you, so you have to be your biggest advocate in the situation. So then you need to start coming up with your goal. You need to kind of sketch out what are the things that you need. What kind of logo do you want to have? What kind of colors? And I definitely recommend not doing it yourself. I recommend outsourcing that to somebody else. So that's why your budgeting comes in. A really big misstep by a lot of ed tech companies are, a lot of times it will be outside of this land of education, coming in and coming up with resources that they think are going to work inside the classroom. The biggest misstep that happens there is you don't actually bring in a team of teachers to help you. Teachers are willing to work for you with very little to minimal compensation if they believe in your idea and your plan. And hopefully at the end of the day, when they're ready for that jump, you'll be able to help support them in some way by either providing them a really great resource or by making sure that you can talk highly and speak of their value. You need to bring in teachers to vet your resources, because what seems to appear like it's going to work on the outside of the classroom never works on the inside. It's often overlooked the value of the teacher ad. When you do start creating these teacher resources for your product, are they going to be digitally? Are you going to be considering of where our world is moving? You need to always be thinking 10 steps ahead of where you are, meaning that you know that technology in our COVID endemic world has exponentially grown. So you need to be considering that also inside of your EdTech plan. What if you can't meet with students in person? What if you need to meet with them virtually? Do you have some way for them to log in? There's lots of what ifs. Create your social media accounts. That's really important to have social. The world of which people are going to start finding resources is going to be socially. So I would say that most teachers find resources either in a Facebook group or within the Twitter sphere. So that's important information to be keeping in your back pocket for knowing that. You don't have to know everything, but you do need to know quite a bit of information. If you don't feel like you know the business side of things, you need to be vetting people that you think are going to be able to support this vision that you have and also guide you in the right direction. It's very easy for you to trust somebody who is a big talker but has little to be able to produce. And then it's time to put things into action. So you start bringing your people in, your social media, your teachers, and you start moving. You hit the ground running. It's going to be trial after trial after trial and error after error after error. Then bring it to the meetup groups. Then meet with somebody on LinkedIn and ask for their feedback. Many people are willing to give feedback for free. So you need to utilize that resource, but always remember to thank that person for giving their time to you. I cannot stress this enough, but you have to make sure that you are product testing with teachers outside of school and with teachers inside of school, whether that's in their virtual classroom or something like that. What happens a lot of time with resources, no matter where we are and no matter how its use is intended, it gets changed when it comes inside of the classroom. The translation is different. So just making sure that you have that. In addition to doing product testing, make sure that you have some sort of standards alignment with your resources. So that means that you need to make sure that you stick with some sort of standard. So if you try to choose some universal standards. If you're doing science, next gen. If you're doing computer science, CSTA. And ISTE, incorporating those are all going to be really important. When you're a smaller based company, people are going to be a little bit more forgiving that you don't have full state standard alignment with every single state in the United States when we know their standards are all over the board. But it is important to making sure that you have standard product driven resources. There's been many of people, like I've mentioned throughout the years and through different startup events and things, where they never took into account that teacher side. They saw a need from their either cousin or maybe themselves that they experience in the classroom, but they're not really sure if this is something that's actually needed within the classroom. So that's why it's important to be making those conversations had and then creating some sort of feedback loop. So those are just the beginning steps of which you'll need to take, but having a product is going to negate everything else that we've talked about. So making sure that you have, let's say you build out a social platform, you have your website's really well done, and you have no product. You need to make sure that you have a product that's worked, tried and true, tested in those small groups. It's going to be important. So I know that we had somebody who had been attending the EdTech groups for a really long time. Finally, we did a slow pitch competition through Dr. Joan Hughes at UT. We did an event in which we had different stage startups and they went through and sat roundtable and also pitched their products to a team of people, and the team provided them really authentic feedback based on their product. And it's important to have that. If you only have one small product or you don't have a product that works, anybody can hear your dream, but it's never going to be anything beyond a dream if you don't put it into reality. So you have to actually put your head down and really get to work on that. A lot of times people spend hundreds and hundreds of hours just perfecting the product, but it's going to be important to start building that out. And then as you start building it out and bringing more people on board, the more your product will grow. So you need to have something tangible at the beginning. So here are my tips. Know your why with your mission and vision statement, laying out your plans 1 year and 5 year. Obviously, those will change over time, but making sure that you have that there. Making sure you know what your budget is, that you have teacher resources, whether digital or not, and that you have done some tried and true product testing with a tangible product. It's very important to have a product before you even do any of those other things, like having a marketing page or having a logo or any of those things. Your product is your number one thing that you need to have in order to start beginning working your product. And then other things will come, like making sure you have a strong pitch deck. There's lots of possibilities that are beyond that, but it's really important to be able to identify those needs. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.
Once again, I want to thank you so much for following along on this journey. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment below. And until next time, bye.